is the Android Buffet Podcast, episode number 504, recorded Thursday, September 3rd, 2020, in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Android Buffet Podcast. Now extra quiet for Jerry's benefit. Hello, Jerry.
Oh, hello.
I'm keeping it soft and mellow for you.
It's all right, man. Like I said, I've got volume control on my headphones.
I thought you'd enjoy a little mellow.
I would.
Okay, I'm working on the mellow. Yeah. It's
Today's intro music sounded like a funeral dirge or something.
I just slowed down the tempo. It's 9 o'clock in the p.m. It's dark outside, and we're here to talk about Android and home automation.
Having fun with this?
What?
I think you're having fun with it.
It brings me back to, my radio days.
That's cool.
Anyway, so it has been another week, and the new logo is up. Did you have a chance to look at the front of our site to see your reflective head?
I saw it on YouTube.
Okay. I made it even bigger on the Android Buffet site. It covers the entire top of the site itself.
I like it.
Yes.
I think you need that same aspect ratio on YouTube.
It won't let me. I was trying. I think I need to work at it a bit more.
All right. It's got it cut off at the top and bottoms.
Yeah, for some reason it is not being cooperative, but I'm going to have to do some creativity. So for those of you who have not seen the new logo has some interesting changes. For one, the Jerry icon now appears on the right instead of the left. So after several years, we got tired of our left and right positions, so now Jerry is right and I'm left. Where previously Jerry was left and I was right.
I have never been left. You shush your vile mouth.
And
it was supposed to be a joke. It was supposed to be funny.
I couldn't think of an amusing response. I tried. That was the pause.
Oh.
And more accurately now, my image does show my glasses, which are actually my actual glasses.
Interesting.
Yes.
Do they not have the ear studs?
No, she asked for a picture of the shape of my real glasses. So that is based on a picture of the shape of my glasses.
Cool.
Now, I do actually, I did try to reproduce this in real life. So I did actually try to go out and find a mask to put on. Unfortunately, and I'm going to, for those of you who are joining us on the live cam, I'm going to put it on our blank wall cam here. So you can see this mask that I was prepared to wear, if not for the fact that it's extremely uncomfortable and doesn't actually seem to stay on. So worth a shot. So I cannot make myself look exactly like the picture. Where do you get one of those like superhero style masks that adhere to your face? That they wear in superhero movies.
I believe they're specially made for them. However, since Halloween is coming up, it shouldn't be too difficult in a month or so.
Oh, I looked. I couldn't find anything. If you
Looks
can
very
find
Batman-ish.
Yeah, if you can find me that type of mask, then I could pose for the picture, accurately. So
Just paint it on.
I'm not much for face paint. So let's see. I installed a Z-Wave smoke and carbon monoxide detector.
Z-Wave as opposed to Zigbee. Okay, cool.
Oh, I have both. I have Zigbee and Z-Wave devices, but I don't think they make a Zigbee smoke and carbon monoxide detector. So I installed it, and now one of the projects I have to do when I get a little time is I have to translate it because it produces error codes. So right now it's at error code 13, and I need to, because I will never remember in a crisis what each number is, so I need to translate 1, 2, and 12 into human readable strings. I think it's 1 is smoke and 2 is carbon monoxide and 12 is both.
Huh. What?
I didn't design the thing.
1 as smoke, 2 is carbon monoxide, and 3 is both makes sense.
No,
But
12.
12?
Yeah, one and the presence of 1 and 2 is
That makes no sense whatsoever.
okay. Talk to the people who made the smoke detector. Why are you blaming me?
Now, if 4 was smoke and carbon monoxide was 8, then 12 being both makes sense.
Well, think of it not as 12, just think of it as a 1 and a 2. I get your point. Either way, again, I'll reiterate the fact that I did not design the thing. So
Okay.
I cannot accept responsibility for it.
Well, if it works, and that's cool. That's the important part.
Yep. Well, I haven't tested it yet except for pressing the test button, which produces a 12. Yeah, well. But also I can monitor the battery level.
That seems important.
Yeah, getting annoyed by low smoke detector battery alerts is something that I hope to have in the future when I get around to setting that.
So, quick digression.
Yes?
Our new house has like 24 smoke detectors in it.
Yes.
It's a new house. So, they put, all the batteries were new at the same time. So,
Are these wired in smoke detectors or battery operated then?
they're wired in, but they have a battery backup.
Okay.
And just a little 9 volt. But
It chirps all the time. I've been through that. It's annoying.
and trying to find which one is chirping is so annoying. And then one day you'll find one and it'll start chirping, and then the next day it's a different one that's chirping, and then a week later it's two others that are chirping. It's
Did you buy the like the 12 pack of 9-volt batteries so you're always stocked in?
the first time I bought one. The second day I bought a pack of 24.
Okay, so you're prepared.
Yep.
My latest few smoke detectors, I have several that have the 10-year battery because I don't have wired in smoke detectors everywhere.
Right.
And then a few of them, like the Z-Wave one, use standard AA. But again, I can get an
Wow,
alert.
that'd be cool.
I can get an alert. Well, remember, 3 AA's is 9 volts.
Right.
So
No, it's not.
it's 3 threes. That's 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9.
A double A is volt and a half.
I thought. Then which one's 3?
Two double A's.
Two AA's is. Maybe it's 4. Anyway, I'm misremembering.
But the smoke detectors are the only thing in my house that use 9 volt batteries.
Yeah, which is why I was happy that the Z-Wave one uses AA.
That is cool.
Yep. But either way, I'm continuing to make my house smarter. Always a good thing.
Yep.
And that was my little project because it was very hard to pair because when you pair it, immediately after it pairs, it goes to sleep. So Home Assistant didn't detect the actual alarm types. It just detected the device, and then so I essentially had to keep waking it up over and over again and by pressing the test button and making it beep loudly until Home Assistant actually registered the device.
Wow, that had to be annoying.
Yeah. But you only have to do it once. Well, you only have to be annoyed multiple times to. Yeah. Well, anyway. So that was my thing. Other than that, Labor Day approaches.
It does.
Happy Labor Day.
Are you getting the day off?
I believe so, but I never truly have the day off. They
I
email me.
understand that.
Yes, also Sunday is, of course, an important holiday for some of the people who I spent some time with. It is Unification Day. So to any Bulgarians who happen to be listening, happy Unification Day to you.
I would have never guessed Bulgaria. Cool.
Well, I still talk to the people who I was there with, so they mentioned to me it was also a holiday there. By the way, in regards to the previous comment about the mask, apparently masks are hard to wear with glasses. According to Darrell, apparently bank robbers and superheroes do not wear glasses. By the way, I'm still attempting to research whether or not the Android Buffet logo can go into some sort of swag, but I'm trying to find a company that I like. So I'm still working on it.
Check out Redbubble.
No, it's on my list.
All right.
There are a bunch of them.
There are.
Yeah. I was also wondering what, interesting pieces I can get. Could I get myself, the Android Buffet flag so it can blow in the wind? And, I can film it blowing and put it up on this YouTube channel that we have for whatever reason.
If you put it on Redbubble, they can also make a mask out of it.
Oh, that's unnecessary.
Not a hide your identity mask, but a save you from the vile COVID mask.
That would be unnecessary. That's on order. Anyway, I like to be prepared for any eventuality. So there were some interesting bits of news this week. It wasn't the busiest news week we've ever had. But the Chromecast and Nest displays, when they are doing their picture slideshows, will now show the date and location of those pictures.
I love this.
I love it too, because I can never remember where the picture was taken. So you know that since it's spoken out a few times, although I turned the microphone off this time, that somewhere within earshot of me is a Lenovo Smart Display.
Yes.
So it is showing a picture right now, and I'd love to know what date and location it was.
I can normally remember where a picture was taken, but I can't for the life of me remember even, like what year it was.
Well, the thing with where is I can usually guess, but sometimes some pictures are not easy to guess. So the picture there I can actually identify as coming from the San Diego Zoo. If you remember last year, I did visit the San Diego Zoo. I think I mentioned it at the time that I had visited San Diego.
It's possible.
Okay, I visited San Diego about a year ago. I had originally planned to go a few weeks earlier, and then I had postponed it. So I went to San Diego, and then I took a train, and then I tried to go to Disneyland. Unfortunately, the Goldbergs prevented me from seeing great moments with Mr. Lincoln, which still annoys me. But that's a whole other thing. Either way, well, now it's Disneyland, so it must be cycling through that September trip last year. But... Ooh, it's a small world. Okay, anyway. So sometimes you want to know, okay, when did that happen? So it's nice that they're going to put a date and a location, and they sent me an email saying they were going to do it.
Cool.
So I look forward to that. That's supposed to start in about 2 weeks. Following on their announcement that Google Meet would be available on Chromecast, apparently Duo is coming to Android TV.
Did you know that there is another Duo? There's an app called Duo for mobile, Duo Mobile.
Oh,
that is absolutely unrelated to Google Duo.
What about Duolingo? That's also a Duo.
I guess. Yeah.
And we're a Duo.
A Duo Mobile is a second factor authentication app.
Okay.
That my company has decided to use.
That's good.
And actually, I was ready to be all annoyed because I would just prefer them to use, Google Authenticator or, something kind of standard. But they didn't. But it worked really well.
I don't know. The
So,
other day, some one division of my company that I don't know anything about called me and told me that I should know about something and said that they were going to support second factor authentication.
hmm
And they said that they were going to allow an app. I asked if that was a TOTP app, and they didn't know what I was talking about.
Interesting.
And I'm usually inspired when the people who are doing two-factor authentication don't know about the actual spec that they're talking about. Oh well. Fortunately, that's not my department. But anyway, moving along. Google has actually improved Assistant Snapshot. So this is the thing where it tells you all sorts of interesting things about what you can do that day. So that would be a summary of your most important tasks, helpful recommendations for dinner activities and podcast, and you can say, hey, guy, show me my day to get started, get more important notifications. So this is, you remember the sort of Google Now display that they
Right.
gave us and took away? I think they're sort of trying to put
So
more of that.
sad.
Well, I think they're putting more of that back into the assistant.
Good.
And I think they sort of realized something of a pivot, that Google Now didn't quite have the integration that they wanted, so their new product is having it. But you'd think that they wouldn't get rid of something before the replacement was done. But go figure. If you're a user of Chrome OS, they are adding Wi-Fi password sync.
This always scares me.
A lot of things scare me, because if they get one device, they get them all.
Right?
But how many passwords can you remember? So remember, if somebody gets your password, they also get everything.
Oh, yeah. If somebody gets my master password, I'm hosed.
Do you change it?
About once every 5 years.
Okay, so that's better than never.
Oh,
Okay.
true enough.
Google Assistant has enhanced the food preferences. So I'm not sure if you remember this, that we talked about a long time ago, that there was an option to set your dietary preferences within Google Assistant. So when it recommended things, it would recommend recipes and such.
I always thought that was so weird, but I
Well,
guess it makes sense.
yeah, so now it's going to ask you still if you're gluten-free, vegan, etc., but you're going to get a grid of pictures with a thumbs up and a thumbs down, and you can select cuisines and ingredients. So
Interesting.
so I could tell it that there are certain types of cuisines that don't agree with me.
That seems valuable.
Yes, for example, I have an issue with Chinese food.
I'm sorry.
I got food poisoning at a Chinese restaurant, and just some of the smells just still get to me decades later. So if I smell certain foods, it does. I know it's not a real gag response, but it just reminds me of it. So I have trouble with that. So
Hey, I don't like seafood, so
I
it's
actually love
everybody's
seafood.
got their own preferences.
I love fish. Fish is the only type of seafood I actually eat. I have never had any other type of seafood. Yeah, Gesundheit.
Sorry about that.
But again, I would like to be. If my goal is to get recommendations from Google, I would like it to know what it is I don't want to eat. So
It's an excellent idea upon reflection. At first, I thought it was kind of silly.
now I have a problem because a lot of recipes can't be adapted for some of my dietary preferences, and I don't think Google has caught up with that yet. Well, for example, I don't mix meat and dairy in the same meal. Therefore, Google will often say that I should go and cook my meat in dairy. Therefore, that wouldn't work for me. So, things like that. Anyway, moving along, Home Assistant has added a whole bunch of sensors to their app for Android. I'm not sure if you saw this. Do you have the Home Assistant app installed? He's going to check.
No, my wife needed my attention for a second.
Okay.
So,
I was joking anyway.
all right.
So I looked at some of these sensors, and you can turn them on and off individually.
Yeah.
So there's a next alarm sensor. So your phone will send to your Home Assistant instance when the next alarm you've set is, which is now, I didn't see a sensor for the alarm is going off or that you've dismissed the alarm, which would be helpful. You know, but I have to go look at their list of open issues to see if that's something they're thinking about. They have an audio sensor, which is the attributes would be audio mode, is headphones, is mic muted, is music active, is speakerphone on, volume level. So if you have headphones plugged in, the mic is muted, or you're playing music, you could tell your Home Assistant that.
So many sensors.
Yeah. Battery level, including charger type, is charging, so you could tell it if you're charging. And again, you can turn. There are options to turn any of these off. There's a do not disturb sensor, which will say if your phone's in do not disturb mode. There's a geocoded location, which will tell you where your phone is. Of course, last reboot, always helpful. There's a light sensor, background location, zone location, so it will tell you if you are in a zone, which is interesting because I thought I was in a zone now, but it doesn't say I am. So I'll have to look into that.
What's a zone?
In Home Assistant, a zone is essentially a boundary around a set of coordinates where you can say you're inside it. So you can set your home as a zone, and you could say when you enter this zone, do things. So when you come home. So I have a zone set up for home, and I have a zone set up for work, and I have a zone set up for this basement that I'm hiding in. Still,
Interesting.
so it knows where I am, essentially. Not any more specifically that when I'm in that zone, I can tell it to do things. It does have the phone state. I assume if I was making a call, it would know. It has the SIM card information, so it says that I'm on Google Fi. It has the readout from my pressure sensor inside the phone. I didn't even know my phone had a pressure sensor. 960.1 hectopascals.
I can't translate that into something I would understand.
Well, what's interesting is I have a BME 280, which does pressure sensing upstairs, and it says that it's 963 hectopascals. So,
Also, a unit of measurement I don't understand.
I can give you the conversion to millibars if you'd like.
Inches of mercury is where my head understands things.
Well, how fortunate for you that I actually do, not from my phone, but I actually do measure units of mercury in my official weather station. So do you really want to know what the inches of mercury are right now? 28.442 inches of mercury.
So you're in low pressure right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit higher up than normal. For example, it's 963 hectopascals here, but at my apartment it's 1,006 hectopascals because I'm in a different place. Anyway, let's see what other sensors they have here. They have the step sensor, the proximity sensor, the storage sensor. So it'll tell me how many. By the way, 1%.
All the sensors.
Well, all the sensors it can detect. But again, some of them are more useful than others. I could see why I would want my Home Assistant instance to know when my next alarm was, or to know if my phone was charging, because my phone charging would be an indication that I was in a certain state. So if I was
sleeping,
no. Think of it this way: if your phone is in the house, because again you can detect by zone, and your phone is charging, what would that might be an assumption that you'd like to make. It also detects what network you're connected to. So you could definitely use a combination of these things to say, okay, I'm here, I'm connected to this network, I'm plugged in, do this. If it knew when my alarm was going off, as opposed to just when the next alarm is, then it could, turn the lights on in the room in response to that. So it could do a lot of interesting things.
True story.
Yep. So they also added in NFC tag support. So you can have it write to an NFC tag, and then when you read that NFC tag with your phone by running over it, it would trigger an event in Home Assistant. I'm trying to remember if I have some NFC tags, like the stickers. I did
Hmm.
play with them a while ago, but I haven't used one in a while, and I always try to figure out what I could do. Because I could think of, having one next to the door and just running something over it when I arrived. But I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. They also added template widgets. That would be where you can sort of have a templated widget that can display information from Home Assistant and a few other things.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is this is one major upgrade.
Oh, these are the upgrades they've done recently. So it wasn't for one version. I think they actually covered two separate releases in the blog post. But I hadn't talked about it, so I'm talking about it all together.
Ah.
Again, there's a lot. Now, my challenge is because I'm here where my secondary Home Assistant instance is that I built in this house, and I have the phone connected to the primary instance in my apartment, I have to deal with a few other things. Essentially, what I have to do is I have to tell one MQTT broker to forward messages to the other MQTT broker, generating sync. So my location is sent to my apartment, and then it's transferred to the other Home Assistant instance over MQTT. So the broker here is logged into the broker at home.
That sounds crazy.
Not really. Otherwise, I'd be sending information from my phone to multiple locations. So I send all the information on my phone to one location, and that location sends it to the other locations. Saves a little time. It also saves on API calls because I have information going to one that I want on the other, so I just have to, again, tell it to sync. Moving along, Gmail for Android now supports adding recipients that you mention, so it's supporting sort of the at mention idea.
Mm-hmm.
So if,
Ah.
if
Yep.
I talk about Jerry Jones in an email, then it's going to suggest that I add you as a recipient.
But only if you. There seems to be some hoops you have to step through to indicate that you're talking about a specific person.
Yeah, but again, it's an interesting feature.
It is.
Sort of bringing that at mention world into email.
I find it to be an interesting innovation.
Now, if you are interested in speed in your home internet connection here in the United States, apparently cable companies will be slowing down upgrades, according to the people over at Stop the Cap. By the way, I'm saying people. As far as I know, it's one guy.
Huh.
I like his point of view, but it's one guy. So Stop the Cap, again, is promoting better broadband, fighting data caps, and usage-based billing. And in his latest comment, apparently he is reporting on the fact that the chief technology officer of network solutions at CommScope told an audience at a 2-day virtual event that DOCSIS 3.1 is adequate for cable operators to stick with throughout most of the decade, despite the fact there is a standard for DOCSIS 4.
Well, the question is it adequate for the next decade? And it's not like they're stopping the upgrades from DOCSIS 3.1 to 3 to 4. They're just slowing down and they're making the system ready over time.
Well,
Which
it's back to there's no pressure to get faster at the moment. So
there's no pressure from the government.
Well, no, I'm even saying from the users. The users are not necessarily pressuring the companies to get to this speed. I think, realistically speaking, the number of people who want a essentially 10 gigabit download as a maximum cap instead of right now where pretty much you can't really go much beyond 1 gigabit realistically.
And I can't get. My home network is 1 gigabit.
So is mine.
I mean, inside the house.
Yeah. But I have 1 gigabit from FiOS, and speed tests rarely get me near there. Admittedly, speed tests are not really an accurate thing.
Right.
Also, I wonder if the Edge Router X can keep up with 1 gigabit, because if you read the literature, it's sort of inconsistent.
I believe it can, as long as you don't have the deep packet inspection turned on.
I don't, but what I'm saying is if you read some of the discussions on it, there's some inconsistency about whether or not you might be better off upgrading. Now, moving along with this, again, as much as I'd like it, I have to admit that there's a large percentage of the country that doesn't need it. That what they have is good enough for now.
I gotta admit, man, I mean, I think I'm a relatively heavy internet user, and I rarely max out my connection.
Yeah, for me, the reason why I want them to put better capacity in is because, especially with cable, which is what I'm using in this current location, where I seem to be spending increasingly more time lately, at least until it starts to snow, which it does much earlier here. But there you end up on sort of this party line problem of the more your neighbors are using it.
Yep.
So I'd rather that they work on the pipe outside.
I understand.
Yep. So moving along, if you enjoyed the previous TicWatches, the TicWatch Pro 3, which is the first TicWatch with the new watch chip from Qualcomm, it has been declared to have a price of $259 and will launch in October.
Looks impressive.
Well, see, I'm tempted not to get a TicWatch Pro, but I keep being tempted about the idea of having NFC in my watch, because then I could wave my hand over things. The problem is all the things that I'd want to wave my hand over are in places that I'm not going lately.
It just gives you time to get a watch.
Exactly.
But I think it's a fine looking watch. I think is this the one? This isn't the watch with the week-long battery life, is it?
No, that's the one that runs the proprietary OS. And
oh, yes.
Yeah, so this is is Pro versus, what's the opposite of Pro?
Novice? Base level?
Yeah, so let's say entry level, I think is probably so their entry level product, the $60 watch, is the one that has a longer battery life because it has a limited number of functions.
But still, it's nice to have, a range of options where you can decide how much you want to spend. And
well, I have the $30 Wise Band that is something I would use as a backup when needed in certain places, except for the fact that it's a pain to pair two Bluetooth devices. I removed the Bluetooth integration for the Wise Band from my phone because it was always giving me a persistent notification that it was looking for the thing. And again, that's a different problem. And law enforcement is concerned that video doorbells could not only be used by them, but could be also used on them. And that's my choice of phrasing, just because it's sort of this interesting thing. It's, okay, well, law enforcement wants to be able to get footage from these doorbell cameras to help with investigations, but they're concerned that the same doorbell might be used to watch them.
Well, either the camera's there or it ain't.
Yeah. I'm phrasing it that way because I find it slightly hypocritical. It's, we want you to tell us what's happening at your door, but we don't want you to use your doorbell to look at us. It's just a tone-deaf way of thinking of things, because if you think that it's acceptable for people to share this information with you, why do you think it is unacceptable for you to be part of this information?
Yep.
Now, their argument is, again, it can offer warning of when officers are approaching a house to search it. This isn't a new problem. Security cameras have existed for years. So they're upset because they're more prevalent and more people have them. Yeah, as I said, I think that people being concerned about that people might actually use systems to see what the police are doing. This is the same philosophy that police do not think that people should take video footage of them with their cell phones when they're doing something. Now, whether or not I know if I would not want somebody taking a video of me while I was working, not for any legal reason, but just because I don't want people taking videos of me while I'm working. It's uncomfortable. But it's the same sort of thing. It's holding themselves to a different standard than members of the public.
Well, I think, to be fair,
Yeah.
I don't think this is the cops or the FBI. I think this was a report written by an analyst at the FBI last year.
But there is a hit. Just to be fair about it, I'm agreeing with you on that. But there are a lot of people in law enforcement who do not like to be filmed, but they don't like to be filmed because nobody likes to be filmed. So I'm saying that my criticism does have that caveat that nobody likes to be filmed.
Yeah, especially with the overwhelming tendency of video to be cut down and to the most vilifying slice possible.
Yes, I've been.
It's amazing what you can do when you take out context.
Yeah, and I've been watching the news because there are a lot of individuals who have various agendas who seem to want to cut useful information out of videos that shows context.
Yep.
Now, since we've finished the show notes and other news, I will mention a major milestone in my pandemic life. I entered a store. I haven't done that in many months now.
Wow.
Yes. I had to. There was something that I wanted them to give me that they would not deliver.
What's that?
I got a flu shot.
Ah.
For some odd reason, they won't come to your house and stick you with a needle. Well, I'm sure someone will, but... So I called them up and I said, I don't want to linger around. Can I make all the arrangements over the phone and just come and at whatever time and have you finish it? So I went to the local pharmacy. They took care of it and I left. So now I'm set.
Cool.
Well, there's a theory this year that because of the vaccines being in the public consciousness, that more people will be getting a flu vaccine this year than normal, or at least a flu shot.
I'll buy that.
And there might be a shortage at some point. Every year there's only a finite number of flu shots made. So better safe than sorry. And I got a weird package in the mail. I'm going to mention this because it is a strange thing to show up without me ordering it.
A flu shot?
No. A shofar showed up.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, well, let me try to sort of briefly explain what this thing is. So, the Jewish high holidays are coming up. You've heard of them. I've mentioned them a few times over the years.
Okay.
So, one of the traditions during one of the holidays happens to be that you would blow a ram's horn during services. So this would be essentially a ram's horn cut, hollowed out, and then you blow into it to make a noise. So for some unknown reason, one of these arrived in the mail, addressed to me, here, which again, not my residence. So I called the company that shipped it, and they can't figure out why I have it. So they told me to keep it. So I now have a $120 shofar that I don't know what to do with.
Clearly, you blow through it.
No, I already had one. When I was in school, I made one. So I took an actual, recently, well, they're all actual ram's horns, but one that had recently been separated from the ram. And we had a little project where we drilled a hole in it and cleaned it out and made one, so I had that one.
Cool.
But this one, it's a very nice one. I went and ordered, because of its size and length, I ordered the stand that they use to display baseball bats. so I can display it on a shelf. It's nice and clean and polished, and the hole you blow into was not made with a power drill. So, nice enough. Maybe that should be the next episode. I blow on the shofar live. Not because anybody would appreciate it on a religious level, but you can hear how annoying the noise can be sometimes. It is more. I will say that it is more pleasant than listening to a vuvuzela.
All right.
So that brings us to the end of the episode. How about we do this again next week? Are you free?
Let's do it. I am.
Okay, same time?
Same time.
And maybe Darrell will join us again?
Thank you, Darrell. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Darrell would like me to automate the shofar and make it the new alarm for the smoke detectors.
That would be cool.
Well, specifically, I can make it so that if there's an alarm, that the sound that comes out. So I've been using the Google Home devices to play a audio file as an alarm, and I was using the sound of a submarine diving because I found that's pretty annoying. But maybe I should switch to a shofar. Now I have to decide which of the three to four notes that you're allowed to make religiously on them I should actually use. The really long one, the short blasts. I'll figure it out. So until next week.
Until next week. Bye, folks.
And Darrell.
And Darrell.
Yes. I don't know. Every time I say that, I start thinking of the old Newhart show.
Yep.
Yes. Had many Darrells. But anyway. So until next time, remember you can watch us live on YouTube at 9 p.m. on Thursdays. You can download the program anytime, and we will continue our 9 p.m. Thursday YouTube live recording for your enjoyment. And you can be like Darrell and show up and make comments in the YouTube chat.